to MetroFest. I am Mark Altman. I'm here along with Eric Clemons and Jimmy Young. And I have to tell you, if someone had told me 20 years ago that I would be sitting next to these two superstars, I would not have believed it. I mean, you talk about talent next to me in this chair.
Basically, because we're not superstars, that's why nobody would believe.
I don't know.
Legends in our own mind.
I don't know.
In our own time, okay?
So we're gonna talk some sports. We're gonna talk some sports. All right. So I want to start out, guys, by. Huh? You don't like it? So for those of you who don't know, here's Jimmy Young, who, forget about what he did for New England Cable News over his broadcasting career, but no one had better clothing. I mean, this guy.
Oh, God, you are so wrong. If Donna heard that, she would freak. They hated my ties. You know what I used to wear? The Save the Children ties?
But you wore like those purple, like magenta suit coats, didn't you? I saw that magenta suit coat.
That's Craig Sager.
Oh, that's Craig Sager. That's great.
A little taller as well, right?
From him all the time.
Hey, by the way, what a classy thing
the NBA did
for Craig Sager. I mean, I was so pleased.
And by the way, did you see what he wore, though?
Oh my God, that was.
Yes, I was pleased.
That was there even for him. That was.
Guys, I want to ask you something about Craig Sager while we're talking about that. You know, do you think in sports broadcasting, I mean, does he lose some credibility and some, when over the course of his career, he gets more attention for what he wears, I think in many cases, than his reporting skills. Do you guys feel that way? Does it take away from what he does?
I'm interested to hear your answer, and I have an opinion.
No, I don't think it does, because it is more of an entertainment package. And so he found the clothing as a niche, and really, how much journalism's involved? You're yanking a guy over and going, what are you going to do defensively? And it's in and out. And really, he's not one of these insider guys who's breaking stories. This guy's going to. So I think it works there because it leans more on the entertainment end than the journalistic end. And I think that's why he kind of got the response he is. People know him more as part of the package than necessarily this driving force behind the journalistic, serious news reporting end of the NBA.
By the way, first of all, the job itself is not. It's more of an entertainer. It's more of a host, kind of like a show host, a game host, if you will.
Yes.
Not a game show host, but a game host.
Game host, yes.
And I'm of the opinion that anything that takes away from what is coming out of your mouth does take away from the messaging. But he did develop an identity with it, and think about it. The rapport that he had, I'll never forget Kevin Garnett. He goes, hey, after this interview, burn that suit. Right? Absolutely one of the greatest things I've ever seen.
That was great.
Right.
So, I mean, it became part of his identity. And again, I'm big on identity and personality because it's part of the entertainment package.
Right.
So,
You know, I have to tell you, when you talk about sideline reporters or spot reporters in general, it's amazing how far women have come. You know, there's two women that I look up to a lot. I think Doris Burke is absolutely outstanding. And I was watching the NBA draft. I think Lisa Salters is excellent. I mean, I think females have come a long way, and not just for eye candy. They actually are talented and can do their job.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, Mark.
Right?
Yeah, they've got brains and they have personalities. Holy mackerel. Right. They're actually doing the job.
Yeah.
Yes, they are. Interestingly enough, in the beginning, it was the Phyllis Georges.
Yeah.
Right? It really was that. But now it is so competitive that the girls have to be better than the boys. They have to be. Because if they make one mistake, that could be their whole career.
Yeah, they're still.
Where if a guy makes a mistake, it's like, whatever. Right?
Yeah, they're still held to the unbelievable standard. On the outside looking in part of it, if you're a guy, not a great position to be in right now if you're going for a sideline reporter job, because the business is such a duplicate, copycat, trendy type business. Now, they're not even looking at many guys to fill those roles anymore. They're looking for females to fill the roles because psychologically, now I'm going off the rails a little bit here, psychologically, we tend to deal with females differently. than we do. The female can ask a question that might have rubbed us the wrong way if it came from a male, but if you look at a female and the answer is automatically a little more gentle.
Yeah.
Because that's how we deal with members of the opposite sex, psychologically.
And I've seen that exact thing happen with kids. When one of my kids was in the dugout interviewing Roger Clemons, and granted, in the day of New England Cable News, we had the sports talk show for kids. We'd have them to go out into the field, and they interviewed Michael Jordan and Mo Vaughn and all the big names of the 90s. And I'll never forget this one kid asked Roger a question at, all right, let's just say he asked him about steroids, okay? I don't think he did. But Roger was like, who coached you? I can't answer that question.
Right.
Who the hell coached? I know
Right.
it was a great piece of video.
Right.
I didn't mean to say the kid will never forget it. But getting back to the women's thing, it's no different than in real life, guys. Let's face it. I know it for a fact that women are not paid the same as men in corporate America, and it takes sports to put it in its forefront. You know what I mean? It takes sports to say, yep, this is still happening.
So, in the world of sports journalism, would love to get your take on something. So I haven't nearly had the career you both have had, but I do some freelance sports writing for Associated Press. And whenever over the course of the last dozen years I've told people I do that, they say, oh, wow, you have it so lucky. You get to go to the game and you get to go to the locker room, whatever. And I'm wondering if there was a point in either of your careers where what was a dream to be involved in sports turned into a grind, because I think to the casual sports fan, they think it's all glory 24/7.
Oh.
So what was that moment where you're like, hey, this is great, I'm getting to do this, but wow, this is a lot of work. Eric, why don't you start? What was that moment?
Almost from the very beginning. For me, I had to be away from the event that I just covered for a minute to realize what I was just at. I was in Los Angeles when the Bulls won their first NBA title, but it was all running around. LA was a blur. The Forum was a blur. Everything was a blur. And I'm like, what did I do? What did I say? I don't know. And people just kind of go like, what a great gig you have and whatever. And I said, but I can't enjoy the game like you do. You get to go and break and grab a beer or whatever. I get to write down everything that happened, this key timeout with this time, and I'm trying to formulate my report. It's great. It's what I do, but it's not a free ride. It's not something relaxing, and never has been for me.
It's a job.
It's a job.
Your job, and having regular deadline pressure with stuff that you have to create. And that's okay. We get it. It was a great job. I'm not going to deny it, but I'll tell you, I'm going to give you my moment if you want to hear it.
I do.
Do you remember when Mo Vaughn flipped his truck?
Yes.
And I knew where he was because I got a call from a friend of mine saying, hey, I was at the Foxy Lady the other night, and last night I saw Mo Vaughn. I go, do you know who flipped his truck? No. He said, yeah, he walked away from it, but it was scary and blah, blah, blah. And my boss says, well, after that report came out, he said, well, Jimmy, you knew where he was, and you identified it. I had 2 sources. I go, yeah. He said, I want you to go down to his lawn and do a live shot. I said, are you freaking kidding me?
Right.
I said, the guy just had a life. He just almost lost his life, and you want me to go down there? I said, first of all, it's a news story. Send the news person.
Right.
I said, I know Mo as a person. I feel bad for him. It doesn't sound like you want to be a journalist anymore. And I said, what was your first clue on that one, Charlie?
Right.
It's funny. I don't know if you guys agree with this analogy. I had someone say to me the other day, why would Jay-Z ever cheat on Beyonce? She's so beautiful. And I feel like in sports, as a sports media person, when you're talking to athletes all the time, it becomes second nature. It doesn't feel special.
Right.
It's over Jay-Z.
It's a job. I remember telling once the late, great Reggie Lewis, we're covering the Celtics playoff series, and for whatever reason, they have a 10 a.m. practice at Brandeis or something, and all of us media types have to gather at Brandeis, which is a stinky gym, 10 in the morning, and we're down on the court. We're about ready to meet the Celtics and do our typical Game 4 interviews, and Reggie looks over and says, oh gosh, you guys, the first thing we got to see in the morning. And I looked back at Reggie and said, do you think we would actually be here wanting to see you in this smelly gym if we didn't have to?
What did he say?
And he was absolutely floored. He had never thought about the fact that we were doing the job, that we weren't starstruck. You're nobody for me to get up and out of being with my wife or girlfriend or children or whatever to want to come see you. And it really touched him. He was definitely affected, and he laughed. But
Great smile.
nobody had ever said anything like that to him before. It's kind of like, hey, I know you're used to being chased by all these microphones and you think that that's the be all and all. I've seen athletes out and about town at a restaurant or bar or something, and they look and they have this great dread and fear in their eye, and I'm like, dude, I don't have a microphone. I'm here with my girl over here. I couldn't care less. Just don't kill anybody tonight or throw anybody through the window. We're fine. You know.
Please don't get
So
arrested.
I want to ask you both a question. If we at Mindset Go, we teach sportscasting, okay, and and not just sportscasting, but in the broadcasting world these days, it feels like if you're going to make it, you either have to be a former athlete, you have to be female, you have to be some type of ethnicity. And my question is, if a 16-year-old boy came up to you and said, it is my dream to be a sportscaster, and you absolutely know the ridiculous long odds to get to the pinnacle of that profession, would you be honest with him and say, hey, listen, you could do it? Would you say, hey, pursue your dreams? It's what you believe? Or would you say, well, let me paint a picture for you here and tell you what the reality of the
At
situation
age
is?
16,
Yeah.
I tell him to follow his dreams. At age 19, one of the first speeches I make to the kids at Curry College when I teach my course is, if you're looking to have a normal family life, if you're looking to have children, get married, don't be a sportscaster. It just won't happen. All right.
Do they buy it though?
Well, the kids are always kind of like, oh, no, I could do it. I go, it's not going to happen. It's just not. You have to be married to your career. It has to be the most important thing in your life in order for you to actually succeed in the business. Now, can you get a job in a small market? Sure. And the other thing is I find very interesting, play-by-play is still pretty much a white male dominated, job, occupation.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The women are starting to do play-by-play. Going back to the women, there's a women's sports talk show on Fox Sports 1 that I think was fantastic. I watched it for about 15 minutes.
Well, who's the woman
I couldn't tell you in a million years
on
what
Sunday
the
Night
names are.
Baseball that's so fantastic
Well, that's,
now? Jessica something?
Jessica Ferrero, I think, or something like that.
She's tremendous.
She was a softball player. What's interesting, you said she's tremendous. A lot of people don't think she's tremendous.
I love her.
I think the fact that she can break down a bat,
Amazing.
is great because again, it's giving legitimacy to her and credibility. But it's just interesting. Look, times have changed. There's also so many more. You said there are plenty more of opportunities.
Sure.
I don't think that there are that. It's still competitive to get to be the network guys.
Right.
I mean, there's only one Bob Costas. There's one on every network. That means there's 3 to 5 jobs that are paying super money for the biggest name in sports.
How much money, we'll say a market between 30 and 60. How much money does a lead anchor in a market like that pay?
Well, what, sports or news?
Sports.
Sports.
And I'm interested to hear your opinion, but I think it's in the 75.
Yeah, a lead anchor in the 30th to 60th market would be probably 75 down.
Yeah.
Which is really good.
Yeah,
I mean,
especially depending on where the market is.
Right?
If it's a lower cost of living and you're a fixture in the community, and once they embrace you, you can do no wrong.
Right.
I mean,
but just think about that for a second. Okay, guys, we've been there, right?
yeah,
You work, you prepare for 3.5 minutes, maybe 6 minutes
right,
a day
right,
to be on camera reporting.
right,
It's pretty good money for that.
Yeah.
Break that out by the hour and you're doing okay.
right.
But you're not breaking it out by the hour.
Right.
So it's a little bit different.
And it's really changed.
Yes, it has.
Really, too. The paradigm has shifted. The consultants, the people, the experts who know what all of our TV audience people say they want today anyway, say that sports is less and less and less important. And it's become less and less and less national and more regional. But the trick is they're giving you less and less and less of a crew to cover it. And so you're stuck between this rock and a hard place as a guy working. Well, you don't want the national highlight, you don't want the NBA finals, you want the local college team or whatever, but I don't have a camera to shoot that.
Right.
So what do you want me to do? You still want me to fill the 3.5 minutes. I know I'm getting a little more in depth there, but it definitely changed that way. But when we came up, you might have had a full-time and a part-time producer.
Right.
Now you got no producer.
Well, I never had a producer in Portland, Maine, just for the record.
Okay.
But I always looked for an editor, and I always needed a photographer, and it was
Right.
a union shop.
Right.
But these days, multimedia journalism is where it's at. These
Right.
guys have to learn how to shoot, edit, talk. I mean, set up and shoot your own stand-ups in the
Yep.
small markets before they even think about it. And that's
Right.
that's what's being taught now in the colleges.
So, go ahead, Eric. Go ahead.
And also, with the individual, I like to say civilian or audience, with our ability
My sign just attacked
to
one
go
of some of the
go on the air and produce stuff on the web or whatever ourselves. I can take a video camera on my phone, turn it around, throw it up on YouTube, and have my own YouTube channel. That was not possible
Right.
30 years ago when we started. So personality, I don't know about you, but I was taught personality was no. You are objective at all times. You are a little above the story. You are Mr. Objectivity. I don't care how excited you are inside.
That's interesting.
Nobody should know that you're a big Chicago Bulls fan. They should just, now, I saw a whole segment on ESPN when the Cavaliers won the title. They're interviewing one of their reporters from Cleveland, and he's talking about how excited he is as a fan because the Cavaliers finally broke that 52-year drought. And that would have never happened, even in 87 to 91 when I was there. They would have never pulled me aside and put me on set.
You ever had a news director back then? It changed in the 80s and 90s, late 80s and 90s, research consultants.
Right.
Reporter involvement.
Reporter involvement.
Reporter involvement in the story changed that because it went from the objective journalist, just give me the facts and get out of there, to no, it's okay for you to be in part of the story.
Right.
Be part of the story. And I always used to have my stories tell the story themselves. You and I just talked about this. Show people what you're doing and let them tell you their story.
Right.
You get out of the way.
Right.
I'll tell you guys, in a much smaller scale, I'll never forget when I first started in broadcasting. I actually was working for Channel 3 in Worcester when Gary Tanguay and Greg Dickerson
Greg
were still there.
Right.
Eric Dickerson.
Yeah,
I'm
by
sure
the
you
way.
was not Eric Dickerson.
By the way, they made their debuts on my show.
Yeah, very cool.
Yep.
So, and I remember I was covering a Worcester Ice Cats game.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, I was sitting next to a fellow media member who had been around for a while. And I remember the Ice Cats, I was living in Worcester at the time, and the Ice Cats scored in overtime to win. And it was he and I were the only two people in the press box, okay? And so I was like, yes, nothing more than that, like, yes.
No cheering in the press.
Oh my goodness, this guy, it was as if it was the Red Sox game.
Right.
And he chastised me. I'm like, it's the Worcester Ice Cats. But I learned my lesson that day, like, to your point, Eric.
Yep.
No cheering in the press box.
So, guys, I want to wrap up. Before we talk a little fun sports stuff, one other topic I want to get to before we get to some
Before
fun
we
sports
run
stuff.
out of memory.
Yeah, before we run out of memory. So, guys, one thing that all three of us, there's a lot we have in common, the three of us, but one thing is our passion for kids. We love kids. And I guess I would like you both to share, was there a particular moment in your life where you said to yourself, you know what, so much of the rest of my life is going to be whenever possible to be teaching and mentoring and coaching kids. What was that moment for you, Eric?
I think it really came, maybe it was my plight in life. I seemed to be one of those people who was born under a star to kind of run into the wall and learn it the hard way with no guidance, and then kind of learn it on my own, and then decide whether I was going to be selfish with it or whether I was going to try to keep somebody else from running and bloodying their nose into the same wall. I opted for the latter. I remember early days at ESPN, I didn't know that it was so cutthroat, that it was so competitive, that somebody sees you there and doesn't like the fact that you're there because they wanted to be there, or other stuff goes on. I had no idea about that kind of stuff. I just thought we were all a team and we all help each other, and it's not necessarily the case. And so I had determined a long time ago that if anybody asked for my help in any area that I can help them, that I would. Because my philosophy was, we never really had the job. We're only leasing it. We're only leasing it for a while, however long your contract is or whatever. At the end of that thing, they can decide to go whatever direction, and now you don't have the job anymore. So what does that really mean? Was I the job, or am I Eric? Am I who I am in this skin, in this body, in this sphere of energy, in this universe? That's who I am. And so whether I'm a sportscaster or not, I'm still Eric. I'm still going to help where I can. I'm still going to teach and mentor where I can. So I made that decision a long time ago.
Awesome. Judy, what about you?
Well, obviously, I had the good fortune of being part of the nation's first live sports talk show for kids in 1995. And by the way,
Which you won an Emmy for?
Yes, we won an Emmy for it. But by the way, the first guest, you guys are going to both laugh, Don Sweeney.
Oh.
Isn't that something? Isn't that amazing?
I really don't want to talk a lot about Don Sweeney.
They only let kids call, right? And I remember one of the calls, the girl got on the phone and she goes, "Oh, Don, I think you're so cute." You know, because we weren't on delay or anything anyway. But I did have the amazing fortune of actually working with kids, training them in the 90s. And when I went to college, I wanted to be a teacher and coach. I fell into sportscasting. I made a career out of it. I went on both sides of the industry and was managed to, have a living as both a sports guy and as a sales guy. But working on that kid show every week, it made me look forward to that show every week. The other stuff was the job. Yeah, I got a talent fee, but I mean, the point was, this is what I want to do, because this combines everything for me. And, of course, it was fortunate enough to win an Emmy, too, in the sports special category, which, by the way, that clip is still being played on 98.5. Mark Bertrand, Beetle Bertrand, who's on with Scott Zolak in 98.5, he called in because Drew Bledsoe was on the show, the quarterback of the Patriots, and they play that clip. So I get mentioned a lot.
Great.
So at some point, we got to reach out to Mark Bertrand, and I just think that's funny. His cousin Danny, this is also how he found out about it. His cousin Danny was on that show, and cousin Danny did the top 10. Remember back in the day when you had the Glenn Berman Sports Spotlight, you had that, Low Ballot Sports Spotlight, Glenn Berman had all the different stuff too. So we did it because, nothing's original.
Right.
Even in the 90s, it wasn't original. And Danny Bertrand did the voiceover of the top plays of the week, and he was a riot.
Yeah.
And you get a kid with a personality who loves sports, and it was must-see TV. And we got ratings against 60 Minutes. I just want to say. This big,
All right,
but we got ratings.
We're gonna end today where I'm gonna come up with 10 names, and you have two choices. You like him only if he's on your team, or you don't like him anyway. First name.
Wait, hang on a second. As a player or as a person?
As a player.
So we separate the player and the person.
Well, but then if you separate the player and the person,
not the type
you'll
of player,
always.
not the type of player, but I know exactly where you're going with
But it's part of it. The person's part of it.
All right.
Okay, let's start with one of my all-time favorites, Dennis Rodman.
Who I have a great story, but I cannot tell it.
So Jimmy, you like him, or you like him only if he's on your team?
I like him only if he's on my team.
I like him only if he's on my team.
Okay. Joakim Noah.
I could care less.
But he is an agitator over the course of his career.
He's Kenny Linser.
And by the way,
he's like Kenny Linser.
I would have loved to have Joakim Noah on the Celtics a few years ago.
Yeah.
They needed toughness.
They did.
Dirty, kind of an edgy thing. No.
So you don't like him at all?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
Eric?
I like him. I like
Yannick
him.
Noah.
I like him, overachiever, worker, hustles. I like him.
Reggie Jackson.
Well, you know what? Still one of the greatest big-time players of all time.
Arrogant as all hell, though.
Arrogant. Most of them are. Guys, what are we talking about? I'm talking about spoiled athletes. And by the way, the best athlete in school always got special
Do you like him
treatment.
only if he's on your team?
Yes.
Eric?
It's a tough one.
I don't like him.
Okay. You ever met him?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a good, friendly meeting.
That's,
but
that's how I feel about Walter Payton.
I just think harm in terms of chemistry and everything outweighs the greatness that he was as a hitter.
As a performer.
As a performer.
He was a performer,
Yeah.
which is definitely different than just a hitter. Wade Boggs was a great hitter.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway, just saying.
Kevin Garnett.
I love the guy.
Only if he's on your team?
On my team and not even on my team. He's the guy that I have just respect. That's Derek Jeter. It's like Derek Jeter. I mean, I had respect for Derek Jeter.
But the thing is, the difference between Kevin Garnett and Derek Jeter, they're both so classy. Well, Jeter's Garnett.
I'm not sure Garnett is classy.
No. That's why I stopped myself. But I will say this about Garnett: he is the model athlete who gives every every ounce of energy at every time he's on the court. He models it. You kill for that on your team.
And just relentlessness, a toughness, a mentality. I mean, not letting anybody shoot the ball at your basket after the whistle.
Oh, that's the
and
greatest,
blocking all
Eric.
those
That's
shots.
the greatest.
You know, how meticulous do you have to be to say, I'm not even gonna let you shoot and make a basket when it doesn't even count.
Greatest.
I'm not gonna let it happen.
Greatest.
Yeah, I like him either or.
I just had one. I was trying to think. I'm trying to do. You guys aren't big into hockey, so I was going to mention a couple of hockey guys.
Go ahead. I mean, hopefully I know who they are.
Kenny
Linsman.
No, I was going to answer the guy that
Brad
played.
Marchand's another good example.
Well, no, it was the guy, Claude Lemieux. Do you remember Claude Lemieux played for the
I remember
Devils and the
Claude
Canadians?
Hated him.
Yeah, Claude Lemieux.
Annoying.
Absolute agitator.
Annoying.
Yeah.
Annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Only if he's on my team.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing.
Is there a guy that you guys can think of over the course of the last, say, 20, 25 years that you can't stand him? Like there's something about him, his game.
Which sport?
Any sport. Something that you just can't stand him.
Well, there's a name that comes to mind, but I've learned to respect him, and that's Peyton Manning. A lot of people don't like him, but you cannot take away his skill set. You can look and beat up his winning percentage, his championships, and all that. Still, a tremendously talented quarterback, one of the best, if not the best of all time.
I had probably some prejudices in here. Aaron Rodgers. There's something about the guy.
He's condescending.
Yeah,
he's very condescending. It feels like he's better than everybody else. He's just the acts big better.
He is better than most, I guess. But there's just something about him. And of course, the Packers plane could go down tomorrow.
Has he won the Super Bowl yet?
Yes.
Yes,
he won one.
Patriots,
Right.
Yes.
Did he?
No,
that was Favre. Right.
Who did he?
He won
a Super Bowl.
just a few years back, not too long ago. Why can't I remember who they beat?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember.
I can't remember who they beat.
Who did the Green Bay Packers beat the Super Bowl within the last 15 years?
Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers is quarterback.
Didn't they?
Who did the Green Bay Packers beat in the Super Bowl in the last 15 years with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback? Steelers.
They beat the Steelers, right? Because they beat the Bears in the NFC Championship.
That's why we call him the professor,
Right.
and that's why I don't let the kids answer those questions.
All right, so
Thank you.
before we get to the final segment, mine is Alex
Final
Rodriguez.
segment.
Alex
Mine
Rodriguez.
is Alex Rodriguez. I can't
Alex
take him.
Rodriguez.
I can't take
Always a
him.
nasty.
Can't take him.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, last.
Shouldn't
Eric,
be in baseball.
favorite Boston sports player of all time, least favorite Boston sports player of all time.
Favorite.
I know.
I think I know.
God, I've met him. Always classy. Always. Bobby Orr.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say it's my favorite.
Please.
Least favorite. Probably Danny Ainge.
Yeah, I couldn't stand Danny. I
God, he
couldn't
just
stand
drove me
him.
nuts.
Oh.
That's
He
interesting.
just drove
And you know what's
me
funny?
nuts.
Did you watch the '86 special? They just
watched a little bit, yeah.
I have not seen that yet.
Eric, they talk about Danny Ainge like he ran the fast break better than any guard in the NBA.
Oh,
I'm like,
wow.
what are you talking about?
Right.
One play as a college player at BYU, where he
Yeah.
went through UCLA.
Yeah, right.
That's been it for him.
Right.
It's funny, Bobby Orr. And the best part about Bobby Orr is, as great a player as he was, he's a better person.
He's a better person.
He's the nicest guy ever. And the fact that he flew me in the Charles River, which was really my broadcast highlight, gives you an idea about my broadcast career. I just want to say.
What a guy.
Yeah, that's a great guy.
So I will tell you mine. Oh no, what's your least favorite?
mine-
What's your least favorite?
You know, it's tough for me to say my least favorite, huh? Least favorite. That's tough because, I'm a homer. And I love everybody on my team. There's a guy in jail right now that definitely should be the least favorite because he's a maniacal psychopath that killed people.
Aaron
Right.
Rodgers?
Yes! So, I mean,
Yeah, but
I'm not big on.
But
I'm
you
really
didn't
not
hate him
big-
before he
well,
went to
no,
jail.
That's what I said. My point was, I support everybody on these teams, but at that point you cross the line. You cause the deaths of a few people. I don't need to see you again. And the fact that I have a Randy Moss '81 Patriots jersey, and I'm ashamed to wear it because '81 was Hernandez's number.
All right, my favorite Boston athlete, and granted I'm not as wise as you see how I use the word wise, I'm not as wise as you guys, by far Pedro Martinez. Because I would not miss a start of his. When he was pitching, it was theater.
So was
absolute
Clemons.
theater.
Hey, Roger
I don't
Clemons in
feel
the
like it
80s.
was the same.
Oh, you couldn't miss a start because you always felt he was going to pitch a no-hitter,
Pedro?
and he never did. Same thing with Pedro. He had that same feeling. And the difference was Pedro was a maestro on the mound.
Yeah.
Or Louis Tien. He was a showman, where Roger was just pure power pitcher.
Yeah.
He never pitched a no-hitter. Pretty amazing. Can we
Pretty
wrap this
amazing.
up? Because you know how much work we have to do?
We are apparently my boss.
This is your column. This is your camera right here.
Sorry. My boss here told me we need to wrap up.
Oh, yeah.
All right. For Eric Clemons, Jimmy Young, I am Mark Altman. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in to our MetroFest performances today. Have a good night.